And that reminds me of somebody who I interviewed. She, I forget exactly how she phrased it, but I think she said that one of her family members was thinking she was faking her learning disability, or was saying, oh, you're just stupid. That kind of phrasing minimizes it, right? And it brings you down, and it is like, well, no, I'm not stupid. I might appear to be stupid in some ways because of it taking longer for me to learn something like driving or riding a bike or whatever. But that's because I have to work harder to learn that, right? So that, yeah. I think
And then and then you have to think about
yeah.
there's also those things that they do, like what you have someone do in a meeting when you work and when you have a learning disability, and they're like, do you need me to read that again for you? Or do you know, or they'll call your name, and something like, hey Jennifer, do you need me to go over this slide again? So
Yeah.
they want to highlight
Right.
highlight it by saying like, no, I'm trying to make sure I'm being accommodating, but it's like, that's not exactly what you're doing. You're trying to intentionally embarrass me so that I won't ask for certain things. So now I'm not going to be as forthcoming saying like, oh, I learned differently, and I learn better when when you have slides. Not I learn better when I do have a note taker. I process better when I can record our meetings so I can play them back for myself later. And so it's those little things like that intentionally gaslight you to mute you from requesting the accommodations that you need.
Yeah, they're calling you out when they really shouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah. One last question I wanted to ask about, like you were saying earlier, the person of color piece. How does the strong, I probably should phrase it this way, how does the strong person of color or woman of color stereotype contribute to workplace inequality and mental health struggles?
Yes, so the strong Black woman, as what I call it, the strong Black woman,
Right.
that perception of like, we can do anything, so continue to just pile things on us. That has been around for generations. It's like grandfathered in corporations. And so it continues to perpetuate this idea of, it doesn't matter what we're going through. Kind of like what I said earlier about we don't have an option to be resilient. It's just like, it's a necessity, because we are, we're most likely to be muted. We are most likely to be challenged about our decisions. We are most likely to be underpaid. We are most likely to be questioned about our competency at work. And there's a ton of research that proves that. But then there's also this, we can take anything. And so we find ourselves trying to be, or having, not trying, but having to live up to someone else's perception of what we should be. So it's that feel that we have to be all things for everybody. We have to always be accessible to everyone. We have to always fix the problem. We have to always save the day. And that often leads to burnout for us. That often leads to increased hypertension. It leads to increased migraines. It leads to increased different forms of illnesses, because that mental battle that we're constantly fighting against, trying to dismantle the, like, I need support, but without seeming like we are incapable of doing our job, is very challenging and difficult. And it's something that we face daily in the workforce. It's something that we face daily in the workforce. And so Triumph in the Trenches talks about that. It talks about what it looks like to kind of constantly be challenged about your expertise, about your competency, about your health, about being honest, about battling mental illness. We're more likely not we're less likely to say that we have some type of trauma, we're experiencing some type of trauma because people often don't believe us. We're less likely to say that we have some type of mental illness because then people look at us as the angry Black woman, or they look at us as, oh, you're weak or you're fragile, and it's like, no, that's not true. I have this thing that I'm experiencing, and I need some support. I need some support. So identifying what does that support look like for myself, identifying what that support looks like for those who are around me, and how they can support me, but then also making sure that there's systems in place to provide that support.
Yeah.
So for an organization or for a corporation, it's important to make sure that all your employees, especially the women and the women of color, have access to mental health support
Mm-hmm.
without having to let everyone in the company know
Yes.
that they're taking a mental health day. You know, when COVID happened, that's one thing that came out of it was mental health days, which was a good thing. But I also feel like that's something we should have already had. Um, but now we're at a point where they're wanting to take those days away. And as you can see with society right now and just everything that's going on, we need them more than ever. And not only women of color, but everyone. We all need mental health days. But again, women and women of color definitely need them because we are constantly met with that idea of you can do it, you need to do it, you must do it, because we are always at the forefront of any change that is about to happen or any change that needs to happen. Women are often leading the charge.
Yeah. I think you said that perfectly with the um being at the forefront of the change. And like you said, it's um we're expected to be leaders and to try to be in that position. And I think you know, with what was I going to say, with learning differences or with mental health, uh yes, it's good to have mental health days, like you said, with COVID. um but like you said, we should have had them beforehand. And you know, you have to be I guess tactful is a word, of letting somebody have that without letting everybody else know that they have it, like you said. um I mean, I can think of when sometimes I choose to take a little bit of a break from my podcast for a week because I need a mental health day, because of maybe a migraine's really bad, or I just had a lot of stuff going on that week with work or personal things, whatever. I choose that. And then, I let my audience know in whatever um, way I'm comfortable with letting them know about that. But yeah, that's a very good point. The last question I have for you is, I always ask this at the end of the interview, if you want to, like, what were some of your proudest accomplishments you've had from the work that you do?
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that we're ending with that.
Yeah.
So, some of my proudest accomplishments would be the birth of the books that came out of the work that I do, which is Grieving to Heal, the Shadowboarding Experience, the Recondition, Loving Yourself, the Guide to Loving Yourself Through the Trauma, the Courageous Pursuit of Authenticity. That is an anthology with myself, and I'm at 7 other phenomenal women of color from all different entities and aspects, and they're really able to share and connectedness and tell their stories. And we were able to see how in tune um, we were, but as well as although our lives were different,
Mm,
how similar our experience were in the workforce.
yeah.
And then also this baby of ours, this Triumph in the Trenches,
Mm,
volume 1 and 2, and being able to go on different platforms and stages and just speak to individuals who are survivors and who are warriors
yes.
of long-term illnesses, whether they're invisible or visible disabilities, survivors of violence, and mental illness, being able to let them know that they're not alone, being able to be a voice for those who feel like their voices are on mute often, and letting them
Yeah.
know there's a community here. Here's how you find me. Let's stay connected. Um, and letting people know that there's people who can actually speak on platforms who've been through this.
Yes.
Like I said, it's not textbook. This is experience accompanied with textbook behind it.
Mm,
And so I always like to end my talks with, or even sometimes begin them with, the Reverend is for me because that's my connectedness to faith. The doctor is for you because that is my expertise that people often like to challenge.
mm,
Um, and so that call to action of stay in touch, get in touch, and let's work on restoring,
mm-hmm.
amping, and relaunching, because it's okay to have days where you're not okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to have days when you're not okay. It's always a blessing to learn from each lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So stay connected to individuals who's going to push you, and individuals who's going to be there and be the strength for you on the days when you're not okay.
Yes. Yeah. Um, thank you for how you answered that. Yeah, you're right. It is okay to have days where you're not okay. And it I was just thinking May is mental health awareness month, and it's perfect that we're doing this in May. Um and so for me, I have different answers for that question, but I think one that came to my mind, for me recently, I think I've been proud of myself for how I've been with how I've been with the driving. Actually, I'll talk about that piece because um I decided to take the break because I've been in 4 car accidents. Unfortunately, no, uh, good thing nobody got hurt, but um, I've totaled 2 vehicles and two of those accidents. And so in the last one that happened, I realized, you know what, maybe I need to take a break. I'm not giving up.
Mhm.
There's a difference. Because I remember when my dad was talking to a car insurance company um, for me, and he was saying how I don't drive that much. And at that time, it was mainly more for the learning difference than for the migraines. And the person was asking, has she ever thought of giving up her driver's license? Um, and when my dad asked me that question, I was like, yeah, I probably have thought about that. But giving up is easy, I think. It, you know, it's harder to step back and say, okay, I'm gonna reevaluate the situation and choose to be safer for myself and for others in this case, um, and ask for help because I can and because I have every right to, and um, because I should, um, and yes, asking for help can sometimes be seen as a weakness, but I see it as a strength, because it can be hard to ask for help. And I think for me, I want to go back to driving and I'm trying to slowly, but it's challenging and I'm doing it in a way, okay, I'm going to get a car that's very safe for me to drive that can, have a lot of safety features and help me drive better. Um, but I'm not going to drive it if I have a bad migraine, right? And I'm not going to drive it if I feel very tired. And, I'll have some precautions to make sure I'm safe and that people around me are safe, because I've learned from my challenges and mistakes. Um, so, uh,
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. That's not easy. It's
thank
not
you.
easy to be open and vulnerable and sharing that with, especially with someone when you just meeting them. But also there's many different things I hear in that, right? And listening and hearing your story, there is that battle with self of
Mm,
um if I, like you said, if I give this up,
mm,
then I'm admitting that I'm unable to do something.
yeah.
And so it's that battle with self of this is something else that's being taken from me. And
Hmm.
so, you probably was going through a little bit of that, but the idea of recognizing that this was your triumph moment. Your triumph moment was when you decided for yourself, you know what? I'm going to make a conscious choice not
Hmm.
to drive anymore. I'm not just going to let DMV or insurance say, we're taking your license. I'm going to make this conscious choice for myself because I'm still in control. And
Yeah.
so, for me being in control, I'm making this conscious choice to say, I'm not going to drive anymore. And my other triumph, or your other triumph, is that willingness to ask and receive help and support from others around you,
Yes.
because it's very difficult when you're independent, when you're so used to being independent, to then be vulnerable enough to say, well, I need help. Can you help me?
Hmm.
And then you go through that battle of, well, I don't want to impose on anyone, or I don't want to have to keep asking someone to take me every time I have to go somewhere. So
Yeah.
these are the little loops that you go through on your own. And so that ties into it, my grieving the hill, because that grieving the hill is, you have to grieve that old version, that old perception
Hmm.
of, I have to do everything. I have to be the independent person that drives myself all the time. So that once you grieve that part of it, it's like, okay, I'm okay with asking for help. I'm okay if I have to take a taxi, if I have to take public transportation, or schedule my things on certain days that I can say, hey, around whoever can drive you, let me know what day you have free, and then I can try to put my errands on that day.
Yeah.
And let's hang out together. Maybe you can drive me around while we do X, Y, and Z, and then we can go to lunch or something after it. That gives you a little more control over
Yeah.
it, because it's the control. It's that giving up that control that we grapple with,
Yes.
because enough people are already telling us or pointing out our flaws or our differences. Uh, we don't need to add on to it ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's that sense of control. So I commend you for that. I'm happy that that was your triumph, and I'm pretty sure that you will have many more to come. I'm pretty sure you have many more to come. But again, I thank you for allowing me to be here and be with your audience, and I'm looking forward to engaging with them more, and hopefully they will follow me on my social media, which is at Coach Barnes GMT _, on all social media platforms. And check out the books. The books are
Yeah.
there to help you. The books are there to help you, to guide you. And the best thing about them is there are key strategies and tangible takeaways that you can start doing
Mhm.
day one. You can start doing day one, so that you can start reinventing yourself and falling in love with yourself all over again,
Mhm.
because you deserve to be happy, and you
Yes.
deserve to be the best version of yourself, no matter what your situation. Every triumph is based on your ability to start to accept yourself and be happy with
Hmm.
each step that you put in front of the other. That's what the triumph is about.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for letting me have you on my podcast. It was a joy to interview you and ask you some questions about your work and your book.
Thank you so much. I'll be back anytime you invite me.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think we probably will have you back on again because there's more questions I'm sure I could ask.
No problem. No problem at all.
All right. Um, I'll end the recording here.
Okay.
Um, actually, I think it will end when I exit the room. But thank
Yes, it
you.
will. Okay.
I'll send you the copy later.
No problem. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.